Okay guys, nag-start lang ako mag-record. Okay, pwede na po tayo mag-start. Good morning everyone. Welcome to our discussion po sa ating GT letter writing task 1 or also known as our letter writing. Okay, so first of all, I would like to introduce to you the concept of your task 1. So as your module, per your module, your writing subtest overview first. This is the third subtest in the IELTS. So meaning, after you're done with the listening exam, you will be doing the reading test right after. And the writing examination would come last for the written component, okay? So now, your writing examination in total will last for exactly 1 hour. So when you say 1 hour, you will not just be doing one task, but actually 2 tasks, okay? Your first task is your letter writing. For academic, you will be doing a statistical report. And for your task 2, that will be your essay writing. So we will be doing 2 outputs. You will yield 2 outputs for 1 hour. So of course, if you guys do the math, that's quite a tall order to do, because not only you will be doing a written composition, one written composition, you will be doing 2. And the problem here is that they are completely different from one another. Because your task 2, which is your essay writing, you guys have so many videos already regarding your essay writing. But we will still be doing more lectures for that by next week. That is just a testimony of how difficult your essay writing is. But when it comes to task 1, this is something that I would like to highlight, okay? This is something that I would like to highlight. Your task 1 is not a difficult task. Well, I'm not belittling, I'm not mocking your task 1. Di ko siya minamaliit, guys, all right? But what I'm trying to say here is that your task 1 is much easier compared to task 2, because the problem for task 2 is you have to at least have a background idea of what is happening around you. So certain current events, public interests, ideas about the current activities of people, the issues that surround the world currently, they are the task description for task 2. But for your task 1, it's quite a bit easier because all you have to do is to write a letter. I know most probably the main problem here is that many of you are not into this culture of writing letters. Perhaps we are not, this is not in our culture, writing letter all the time, okay? So if you're going to ask yourself, when was the last time I wrote a letter anyway? Well, you're probably going to be stuck with the idea of it was way, way back, especially for younger individuals, okay? For younger individuals, this concept of letter writing would probably be very new to you. If I remember correctly, the grade level in which they teach how to write letters was grade 5. So if you graduated, 1980s, come on. Will you still remember how to do this properly? Of course not. So that is what our class is about. To give you an overview of the subtest for your task 1. Again, we're not going to focus on task 2. We have other lectures for that. We have done tons of videos for that already. And of course, for your continuation of your task 2, we still have more lessons to come. For task 1, meron tayong naligaw dito na isang task 1 academic. Don't worry, tomorrow, yung highlight ng iyong lecture. But for the meantime, we will focus solely for the understanding of our letter writing. So, what is your task 1 for your module general training anyway? Okay, your task here is to compose a letter in which you need to request or perhaps give or provide information, or most probably to explain a problem. So it's either you requesting information, or it's either the narrative of the instruction is asking information about you. Either way, they are completely different. One is that you will be the one to provide information, while the other is the one you will be getting the information. So you have to understand the main narrative of your letter writing. What is the primary what's the primary instruction? Okay, don't worry about the instructions. We will be breaking that down into the smallest particle possible. So I will be explaining all throughout about that. But this is the idea. For you to be able to excel in this area, you have to be able to do any of the following. You can provide general factual information. This is needed. You can also express needs, wants, likes, or dislikes. This is also important. Expressing opinions or complaints are also necessary. And making requests, suggestions, and recommendations are, of course, very imperative for you to pass this exam. So if you guys are good in any of those bullet points I have checked here on your screen, then remember that you're already halfway through passing this exam. So all of which are fairly similar tasks, which you have to make yourself usable in terms of what are the ideas I have to present and the things I have to include in my letter writing task. Now, the next thing are the narratives of the context, okay? What are the narratives of the context that you have to assimilate in your letter? So when it comes to your letter, there is one general instruction, okay? There's one general instruction. And that instruction can be found at the very beginning of your task description, okay? So your instruction could be you writing to a college accommodation officer about problems with your accommodation. It could be writing to a new employer about time management problems. You can also be asked to write to a local newspaper about a plan to develop a local airport. Writing a letter in response to a complaint about you can also appear. Additionally, you're writing to a renting agency to sort out problems with heating system in your house might also come out on the test. And writing to an English-speaking friend to thank them for helping you with something. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you take a look closely at the different narratives of what you must assimilate later in your letter, they are completely different from one another. And the main concern here, the problem, is that not all of us have an experience about this. I mean, come on. Writing to a renting agency about heating systems of the house. All right, in the Philippines, we do not encounter problems with regard to heating systems in our house, right? We encounter problems because the air conditioning equipment is not working. So what I'm trying to say here is that you need to fabricate a story. You need to think that this narrative is non-existent. You are going to lie. You are going to think of how to put up those statements to come up with your own story so that it follows the narrative of writing to a renting agency to sort out problems with the heating system of the house. Again, we are not accustomed, our culture as Filipinos, we are not accustomed to writing a letter. Kasi ang kultura natin, hindi siya yung may problema, sulat tayo. May problema sa kapitbahay, sulatan natin si kapitbahay. May problema sa akin nirerentahan, sulatan si nirerentahan. Hindi ganon ang kulturang Pinoy. Ang kulturang Pinoy, sugod. Nasaan manager nyo? Ha? Ano to? Ha? Ganon ang kultura natin. So, you have to remember, hindi tayo dapat masyadong, I don't know, hindi tayo dapat masyadong braggy, hindi tayo masyadong mayabang sa letter. You have to keep it concise. You have to keep it simple. Right? You have to simplify it. Just as long as you follow the directives of your task description, you can never go wrong with it. So what I'm trying to say here is that these bullet points that you see on your screen, hindi natin ito na-experience. Okay? We did not experience any of the bullet points presented here. But what I want you guys to understand is that you don't essentially have to experience those firsthand. All you need to do is to fabricate a story. All you have to do is to lie. Okay? All right, so I hope you guys noted that. By the way, you do not have to take screenshots of this lecture because meron po tayong PDF file. All the things that I will be presenting here to you sa slides, nakapost na po yan as a PDF file sa atin pong Facebook group, which, okay, I am going to re-upload later after the lecture so that mare-reinforce natin yung ating understanding. Pwede nyo siyang balik-balikan, pwede nyo siyang ipaprint if you want kasi PDF yung ating format, you can directly print it, you can access it whatever operating system you're using, whether you're using a laptop or an iPhone or an Android device, you can access it. So all you need to do is to listen to all I need to say. You don't have to take screenshots. You don't need to take down notes. Later, you will see everything, as in every single thing that I'm going to present today has already been converted into a PDF, which is just for you. Sa inyo yan. Hindi namin ipagdadamot yan. Para sa inyo po ito. Ano? Okay. So, any questions po so far? Bago po tayo magpunta sa next slide. Okay, mukhang wala naman. Wala na magtataas ng kamay. Okay, sige, punta tayo sa next slide. So, for you to understand what this criterion entails, it is crucial that you know how a typical question for a GT Task 1 will look like. So we are going to dig deeper in the anatomy of what a common GT task description look like. Okay, so a GT task description always starts with a reminder on how much time you have to complete the letter. So you will see something like you are recommended to spend 20 minutes on this task because primarily you are going to only spend 20 minutes for this task. This is followed by a narrative of the context that you must assimilate in the letter. Sir, what is this narrative of the context that I must assimilate in the letter? Here, ito yun. Yung mga narrative of the context that you must assimilate in the letter. The main idea, the main situation of your letter writing. Now, afterwards, the main direction follows, accompanied by 3. Okay, take a look at this. 3 guiding bullet points on what to write. Guys, this last line is very important. The 3 guiding bullet points on what to write is the most essential part of your letter writing. You are then reminded on the word requirement and special directions to follow, usually on how to start a letter. So for you guys to see what a typical GT Task 1 looks like in real life, here it is. Okay, so here is the reminder of how much time, ito yun, how much time you should spend about the task. Then this is the narrative of the context that you must assimilate in your letter. This is your main situation. Then you have your main direction. Okay, accompanied, sabi daw, by your 3 bullet points, and then the word requirement instruction, and then special consideration, usually on how to begin your letter. So our anatomy of your letter writing is now complete. So all the things that you need to write in your letter are already provided to you in the form of your task description. You do not go overboard. You do not provide lack of information. You have to remain concise, which means that you only provide what is expected that you provide. So you have to study your task description carefully. You have to break down the parts of the task description. By doing so, you can understand it much better. I hope you guys understand this, okay? Because what your letter must contain, what your letter must have, okay, are all in your task description. So it is very important that you get hold on to this. Sir, in what form am I going to get this task description? You're going to get your task description as a written form. You're going to get your task description sa computer, kung ikaw yung computer delivered exam. Either way, this is yours. You can write down anything you want. You can underline this. You can encircle keywords. You can put different characters as you prepare. So what I'm trying to say is that you can follow everything that is in the task description because it is provided to you. Nasa iyo yan. Hindi yan aalisin sa'yo, hindi yan kukunin sa'yo. The only time that you will not have the task description for your own is when the examination is over because they will get them back. So kung naka pen and paper based exam ka, Pampanga, Cabanatuan, Dagupan, Laguna, okay, Batangas, wherever you may take the exams, as long as it is pen and paper based, you can write anything in your paper. Ganun din naman sa computer based exam. All right? You may use your, I don't know, highlighters. Yes, pwede po mag-highlights. Pwede kang mag-drag ng mga words from your task description into your written format. So what I'm trying to say, to put it simply, is that you have this. Okay? And this is our life. Your task description is your life in the exam. Okay? So do not go overboard. Do not go beyond this. Do not provide information. Do not miss an opportunity to provide an information, especially if it is included in your bullet point. So before I go on to the next slide, do you guys have any questions? Okay. Alam mga tanong ha, mamaya ako magtatanong. So, in writing a letter, this is very similar to your essay writing. But instead of the task description, task response, coherence and cohesion, vocabulary, grammar, we only consider 3 criteria here. One is responsiveness. I'm going to explain that later, okay? Another is your tone. And one of the most important is your structure, okay? So, when it comes to responsiveness, again, sir, hindi ko po na-gets yan. Ulitin natin ha, responsiveness, tone, structure. Okay, isa pa, responsiveness, tone, structure. Baliktad naman, structure, tone, responsiveness. Sir, unahin naman natin si tone. Tone, structure, responsiveness. So yung tatlo na yan, those are our 3 criteria to produce a letter that examiners would appreciate. That is something that we want to exploit. We want something that examiners would give us a higher band score. Okay? So those 3 criteria will help us out. The first criterion, okay, is your responsiveness. So what is responsiveness anyway? Responsiveness pertains to the completeness of your task. This is how your task, how your letter addresses the main guideline and how your letter completes the 3 bullet point. Again, this is summarized by the task description. Other lecturers or coaches may refer to this as task rubric, but I would use the word description, okay, instead of rubric for the rest of our discussion today. So, responsiveness is when you are able to write at least 150 words. Guys, remember, according to your instruction, nakalagay dun sa dulo, after ng 3 bullet points, you are recommended to write more than 150 words. Now, here's the question that many of my students ask me. Sir, what if I was not able to reach 150 words po para sa letter writing? Well, of course, you will get an automatic grade of 5. Again, look at this, 5. We do not want to get a grade of 5 in any of our subtests, listening, reading, writing, speaking. And it's easy to fail your letter writing. All you need to do is to write an underlined task. I have explained this many times over in your task 2, that not only will you get 5 for an underlined task, you will also get a penalty of 1. So if you get 5 in task description, 8 for grammar, 8 for your coherence and cohesion, 8 for your vocabulary, you add them together, congrats, you still got 7. But you're forgetting something. There is a penalty of 1. So even though you will get an 8 in all those 3 areas, and you will get 5 minimum because your task is under length, then you can only get a band score of 6. That is, again, if you will get 8 in your coherence, vocab, and grammar. Sir, gaano po ba kadalas makakuha ng 8 sa writing? Well, hindi siya ganun kadalas because 2020, only 1 person out of 2,200 test takers in the Philippines got an 8. So ganun kahirap si writing. Okay, put that in mind all the time. If I want to pass my writing subtest, I need to do whatever Sir Kevin says. And the first thing that you have to understand is you have to produce a writing task. You have to produce an output that has at least 150 words. I mean, I'm not saying that you should only write 150 words. All I'm trying to say is that you have to exceed 150. The safest for me is 170. If you can go beyond, just write no more than 220. There's a problem din kasi kapag ka masyadong mahaba ang iyong task. One of the concerns here is that you're only limited to 20 minutes. And the problem is that if you're going to saturate your task with way too many words, then the problem persists that there could potentially be more grammar mistakes than what we expect. So about 170 to 220, those are our minimum and maximum for our safety consideration. Okay, so now take a look at this. It also includes, again, we just talked about the word requirement. Okay, another part of responsiveness that you must think about is the bullet points. Take a look at this. It also includes being able to address all bullet points. Okay, okay. It also includes, all right, being able to address all the bullet points. If you understand or omit any point, you will receive a grade of 4. Take a look at that. You misunderstood one bullet point. You were not able to understand it, or you misunderstood it, and the concern is you missed it. So either of you missed the bullet point, you did not understand it, or you added something that is not required, all of which means failing to address a bullet point. You misunderstood one bullet point. One. How many bullet points you have? 3. You miss one bullet point, you get a band score of 4 in your TA. So how low can you go? If 4 will be your very first score in your task achievement, of course, that is going to not work on your case. So we don't want that to happen. So that is the reason why at the very beginning of our discussion today, I highlighted the importance of understanding the bullet point, breaking it into parts, asking yourself, what is the task description made of? What is it made of? Where is the main narrative? What are the 3 guiding bullet points? Because when I miss a bullet point, you tell yourself, when I miss a bullet point, I'll get 4. When I misunderstand a bullet point, I get 4. When I do not include what the bullet point says, I get 4. So we don't want that thing to happen, right? So always remember to understand the task description and do not ever fail, okay, to miss. And do not ever fail to understand your bullet point so that you will not miss any single part of it. Okay, Now, before I proceed to your tone, again, this is very important. You know, responsiveness is very essential. You have to understand everything about your task. Do you guys have any questions pa? Okay, questions po. Guys, are you still with me? Wala, are you sure? Okay, I hope you guys don't have any questions because later ako magtatanong ng questions. Sabi ko sa inyo, ha? Okay. All right, let us continue. Tone. Okay, tone is the most important criteria. So you mean to say that we talked about responsiveness, and responsiveness na may konti ka lang na pagkakamali, pwedeng maka-5 ka or pwedeng maka-4 ka, but tone is still the most important criteria. You see how important these three are? Your tone, your structure, your responsiveness, all of them are equally important. Diba? Triumvirate of letter writing. They're equally important. Okay. So, how are we going to know the tone? Okay, how are we going to know the tone of our letter? Well, the first thing that you ask yourself is, to whom am I addressing the letter to? Or, who will receive my letter? Who is the recipient of my letter? Because in your task description, there is an instruction that includes the recipient of your letter. So there are 2 tones, okay, in the IELTS general training letter writing. One is your formal tone and the other is your informal tone. Okay, let's repeat. We've got 2 tones. We have the formal, we have the informal. Okay. Now, let us ask ourselves, when is the letter formal? Okay, the letter is considered formal if your recipient is someone you do not personally know. Someone that you do not have a friendly or familial relationship with. So when you say formal, let me give you examples. You are going to write a letter to your college accommodation officer. You will definitely write a formal letter. Next, you're going to write a letter to your employer, your boss, your supervisor. You're going to write a formal letter. Write a letter to the newspaper. You're going to write a formal letter. So if you do not have a family relationship or friendly relationship towards your recipient, then your letter is considered formal. Now, when is the letter informal? Siyempre, kabaliktaran, kung yung formal, wala kang relasyon, okay, hindi mo kadugo, hindi mo kaibigan, hindi mo personal na kakilala, formal yon. Well, sa informal, this is the part of your letter that you consider informal if the recipient is a family member, like your aunt, your mom, your sister, your brother, your uncle, your grandfather, or friend, like your best friend, your college classmate, especially if in the situation, your relationship is friendly. Nakalagay din yan, naka-indicate yan sa ating task description. So, question. Do we consider neighbor as formal or informal? Question, guys. May sasagot ba?
Formal, sir.
Formal. Okay, thank you, Christine, for answering that. Yes, that is correct. You consider your neighbor as formal. You are going to write a formal letter for your neighbor because in their culture, in the Western culture, neighbors are not considered family or friends. Well, a typical neighborhood network in the Philippines kasi is made up of mga kamag-anak eh, 'di ba? Parang sa isang compound, sasabihin isang mahabang compound, nasa harapan yung bahay ni nanay at tatay, nasa likod yung mga bahay ng mga anak, ng mga tito, doon na rin sila tumira. Tapos pag tumanda na yung mga magulang, mag-aaway-away na sa lupa. Yan ang typical Filipino neighborhood network. Tama po ba? Oo. Okay, correct. All right. I'm just kidding, but that's true. We all know that. Okay. So you have to understand when your letter is formal if you're going to write to someone whom you do not have any blood friendly attachments. But you write an informal letter if you consider them something personally close to you. Again ha, doon sa narrative, hindi doon sa pagkakaintindi mo. Okay, doon sa situation na nandoon. So remember guys, kung kayo po ay magpa-practice ng pagsasalat ng letter, formal letter po ang mas madalas na practicean. Formal letter is the most common type of letter writing in the IELTS. So what do I mean by this? Probably sa loob ng isang buwan, may 4 na exam. 3 doon, formal letter ang lalabas. Isa, informal. So if you're going to practice more on the formal letter category. So ano ba ang mga type of letter na formal? Yan, letter of application. Ano pa? Letter of complaint. Yan ang pinaka-common na formal. Letter of complaint. Mahilig sila dyan magbigay ng narrative na magrereklamo ka tungkol sa isang bagay. You bought a laptop, diba? Write a letter of complaint. You ate at a restaurant, write a letter of complaint. Pwede rin yung positive review. You're going to write a positive review about a service or a product that you bought recently, and you're going to do a positive review on that so that you will able to recommend that product or service to a newspaper or magazine perhaps. So that is a sample. Now, another case is your informal. Sa informal letter, isa ang laging natatanong, invitation. So like invitation sa kasal, invitation sa get together, invitation sa birthday. So those are very common types of informal letter. Well, I mean, hindi naman kayo maliligaw pagdating sa letters kasi ang dami kong letters samples na pinost sa group. Ang dami kong letters din na examples na may post ko sa inyo today. So all you need to do is to listen very carefully how we construct those types of letters depending on certain criterion. Okay, may tanong po ba? Sa tone, again guys, tone is the most important criteria. Okay, so if you guys have any questions now, better ask me. Go. Okay, tahimik po silang lahat. Tingnan na tayo ng mga participants natin. Mildred, wala ka bang question? Okay,
Wala
Dayan,
po, sir.
wala ka bang question,
Wala.
Dayan?
Wala po. Okay.
Ayan naman, sir.
Okay, sige. Alma, baka may tanong ka, Alma. Walang question si Alma. Nin Shiel, may tanong ka ba? Okay, wala silang mga question. Pakatatalino talaga ng mga estudyante ko, parang pagkaturo, naintindihan agad eh. No? Kumbaga sa sponge, di ba? Alam niyo yung sponge, binasa yung sponge, hinigop lahat ng tubig. No? Parang ako yung sinasabi ko sa inyo ng mga teachings, nahihigop niyo agad. No? Galing. Grabe. Siguro para sa akin, masabi ko, ito na yung pinakamatalino kong batch. No? Talagang wala akong masabi. Galing. Sobra. Galing. Alright, so tone, we're done with tone. So again, doon po sa ating formal letter, we want to keep your letter precise if it is formal. What do we mean by keeping the letter precise? You only answer all the bullet points. You do not add, you do not remove. All you need to do is to address all the bullet points. There you go. Okay. Next, do not abbreviate. Do not abbreviate words or use contractions. So ano ba yung contraction? Sorry. So yung cannot, for example, cannot. Okay, let me annotate this. Gawin naman natin siyang red. Ayan. So for example, she cannot at saka si will not. So when you contract your cannot, it will now become can't. If you contract will not, it will become won't. So you avoid contracting cannot and will not. You do not make them can't. You do not make them won't or wanna, gonna, yeah, cause. Avoid those abbreviations and contractions. So it's not just going to work your case because when you abbreviate and when you contract, that is considered informal. The main question is, what is type of the letter that you're going to write? Formal. Why are you doing the informal abbreviations and contractions? Again, it will not help your case for your vocabulary and coherence and cohesion. So better to not contract or abbreviate them. Next is for informal. For informal, you do whatever you want. You make it chatty. Although the chats that you include in your letter does not necessarily have to be long. You are free to digress and abbreviations are fine. But I only have one concern when it comes to abbreviations, okay? If you're going to abbreviate in your informal letter, you have to abbreviate everything. So again, this is what abbreviation? This is the abbreviation I'm talking about. All right, let me encircle this. This is the abbreviation I'm talking about. So cannot, not abbreviated. If it's going to be abbreviated now, it becomes can't. All right, same as with it becomes won't. It becomes abbreviations are not allowed. When you abbreviate, because abbreviations are only considered one word. So this can't right here will only be counted as one, and your this cannot will only be counted as two words. So that's going to be working on your case. Okay, any questions, guys? I think no questions. All right. So here is the structure of your letter. In your letter structure, you have various parts. You have the opening statement. You have the introductory paragraph. You have the middle paragraph. You have the action and concluding paragraph, and your closing statement, including your signature, name, and title. So you see how many parts your letter is divided to? Yes, you have 8 parts that your letter is divided into. Actually, when it comes to the paragraphing, okay guys, let's break it down piece by piece. So the opening statement is the dear sir / madam, or the dear Kevin. And then the introductory paragraph, I'm going to discuss what will be the content of that. And then middle paragraph, this is where you answer bullet points. Action paragraph, this is what the action that you want the recipient of your letter to undertake, or perhaps your action. And then we have your concluding paragraph, which I'm going to discuss to you more later. And then closing statement, the sincerely yours, and then signature, Kevin Mangalabnan, title, student. So that is how your letter is structured into. I mean, there are a lot of parts of your letter. So you have to make it work your case, okay? So in opening statement, take a look at your formal letter. So the opening statement, the answer to your question, how do I begin my letter if it is in the formal category? Well, the answer here is it depends. Not to be very vague though, but when it comes to it depends on one factor, and that factor is the instruction and the task description. Most probably, the task description will be the one to give you an instruction, and it is very important that you follow whatever it is written, even the spelling, even the symbols, even the way how it is spelled correctly. All right? So for example, nakalagay, write your letter as follows. Dear sir or madam. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. All right. Dear sir or madam, Okay, take a look at that. Dear sir or madam. And then, ang ginamit po natin, tingnan nyo guys sa maigi. Okay, ang ginamit po natin ay ang ginamit po natin ay colon. So if you're going to write, dear sir or madam, and instead of putting a colon, you will put a comma, mali yun. So by technicality means, hindi ka sumusunod sa instruction, pabawasan nila ang iyong task description. Nakuha po? Alright, so sir, you mean to say, kung ang nakalagay po sa task description ay dear sir or madam, at ang akin pong gagamitin na symbol ay colon, yun po ang gagamitin ko kasi yun po ang nakalagay sa instruction? Yes. So, susundin po natin ang instruction. Guys, Tagalog na Tagalog to. Hardcore Tagalog ha. Dahil ayokong umpisa pa lang mali na agad. You know, it will not help our case if in the very beginning, you will accumulate a lot of errors already. Examiners hate errors at the beginning. So as much as possible, minimize your errors, okay? And for you to do so, simply follow the instruction. You can never go wrong with that. Okay. Sir, this is what I saw po eh. Okay, ang nakita ko po sir ay ito. Dear blank. Yan. Dahil sinunod ko po ang inyo pong sinabi. Tama, okay. Ang nilagay ko po talaga ay dear blank, tsaka po yung mahabang blank. Patay tayo dyan. Okay, bakit? Ang ibig sabihin po ng dear blank is you have to be the one to write the name of your recipient. Sir, ano pong pangalan ang isusulat ko? Tandaan guys ha, anong uri ng letter po ang isusulat nyo? Formal. Dahil formal letter po iyon, kailangan formal din ang isusulat mong pangalan. At kapag nagsulat ka ng formal na pangalan, nandun yung Mr. o kaya Miss. Tapos nandun yung first name. Halimbawa, Gwen. Nandun yung last name, De La Cruz. Dear Miss Gwen De La Cruz. Okay. Sir, what if ito po ang aking sitwasyon? Nakalagay po, Dear Blank. Ang nakasulat lang naman, write a letter to a librarian. Hindi ko po sure kung sino po ang librarian eh. Hindi ko po alam ang pangalan niya. Kasi by situation, iba-iba po ang nag-duty as a librarian. Tama po ba? Yes. So ang pinaka-safe pa din doon ay Dear Sir /Madam, Dear Sir /Ma'am, comma o colon, pwedeng-pwede po natin gamitin. Kayo po ang bahala. Pero kung nakalagay doon, Dear Blank, tapos colon, eh syempre, pati yung colon, kukopyahin mo din after nung blank. So ulitin natin ha, may mga situations na hindi mo talaga pwedeng malaman yung pangalan ng susulatan mo. Halimbawa nga doon, write a letter to the bus company. Write a letter to the newspaper. Write a letter to the librarian. Dear blank. So what am I going to write? Simply, Dear Sir or Madam. That will be sufficient enough. Okay. Third question. What if I'm going to write a letter to my boss? Technically, kung naka-dear blank yun and you have to write a letter to your boss for 8 years. Tingnan nyo ha, write a letter to your boss for 8 years. Definitely, alam mo na yung pangalan niya. So that is the time that you are going to write down the name of your recipient. Full name if ever, lagyan ng Mr. or Miss or Mrs. if you want, or attorney or doctor, kung anong kanyang title. And then, pwedeng-pwede rin naman yung last name. Dear Mr. Cotto. Dear Mr. De La Cruz. Dear Miss Rivera. So you may use those instances to fulfill your opening statement. Guys, are you guys still following? Questions po? May questions po ba tayo? Okay, wala naman daw question. Maria Victoria, may question ka? Mary Rose, baka may question ka?
Wala po, sir.
Okay, Carla, may tanong ka ba, Carla? Jocelyn, baka meron kang tanong? Yan, wala silang mga tanong. Okay. So sumunod na po tayo dito kay formal. All right. You may be instructed to fabricate the name of your reader. Whether it's a family member, a friend, or a lover, simply indicate the first name or the pet name of your recipient. Do not be afraid to put whatever name you please, okay? So when it comes to writing down the name of your recipient, listen to me carefully, all right? So, pwede po yung mga nicknames lang. Halimbawa, Dear John, Dear Alex, kung ang pangalan niya ay Alexandria, napakahaba, di ba? Dear Alex na lang. Or Dear Jin, kung ang pangalan niya ay Hermenegildo. Alright, don't have to make it full name. Pero please naman, wag naman yung masyadong Tagalog na pangalan na Dear Makmak, Dear Tonton. Yan. Diba? As much as possible, wag na yung mga nag-uulit-ulit. Okay, that's redundant kasi pag nakita natin siya as a word. But do not be afraid to put whatever name you please. What if you're going to write a letter? Okay, maganda to ha. You're going to write a letter to your uncle. So ilalagay mo yung name na uncle, tapos yung name niya, let's say Uncle Jerry. So yung uncle, letter U, should be capitalized, and then yung J ng Jerry should be capitalized. Okay, remember, pag po ang title is preceded by a name, capital letter po silang parehas. So sana po naintindihan natin kasi capitalization is also part of your assessment since it is included in your grammar. Are we clear? Okay. So that is how you do an opening statement for both the formal and the informal letter. What about the introductory paragraph? Okay, Christine, you raised your hand. Okay. You have any question? Sige.
Sir, dun sa informal, yung gagamitin po dun sa dulo, colon pa rin ba yun? Or pwede na sang comma?
Pwedeng comma, pwedeng colon. Whatever you please.
Okay. Thank
Ito
you
ang
po.
bahala. But most probably kasi, kung ang susulatan ko ay informal, like Dear Christine, for example, Dear Christine, comma, okay na. Mostly kasi si colon ginagamit natin sa mas formal eh.
Formal. Okay. Thank you po.
Okay. Would that be all, Christine?
Yes po, thank you.
Okay, sige. Guys, if you have any questions, raise your hands at saka pwede na kayo mag-unmute. Yan. Next po natin is the introductory paragraph. All right. For the formal, guys, look at me. This is very important. Okay, this is very important. Look at me. Okay. So for the formal letter, your introductory paragraph is the most essential part of your writing task. Again, this is the most essential part. Okay. So in your introductory paragraph, you are going to write 2 sentences. Okay? 2 sentences. The first sentence, listen carefully. The first sentence is by introducing who you are without, okay, look at this, without saying your name. Sir, are you nuts? How can I possibly introduce who I am without even having to say my name? That's fine, guys. What you need to understand is that in your letter, you have a role. Okay? You have a role to play. For example, in the narrative of your description, you are going to write a letter to the bus company because you lost your ID and you are asking them whether they found it, and if ever they did find it, they will return the ID to you by following your instructions. So in that situation, sino ka? Again, hindi mo ipapakilala ang sarili mo. Hindi ka sabing, ako si Kevin Mangalabnan, or I am Kevin Mangalabnan, or I am Christine Magadja, or I am Jocelyn Marasigan, or I am Mary Rose Padilla. I am not going to include my name. I am just going to include my role. So if you're asking me, ano po ba ang role ko dun sa situation na yon, kung saan nawala po ang aking ID sa isang bus company, ako susulat sa kanila, ang iyong role ay passenger. So paano mo sisimulan ng letter mo? Good day, period. I was a passenger of your bus going to Laguna last week. Okay, sunod na situation. You rented a car. Okay? You rented a car in an accommodating agency, in a car renting agency, and you're going to write a letter. You're going to write a letter asking them to fix the air conditioning system of the car because it is broken. So, good day. I am a client. I am a customer. What else? I am the lessee of the car. Again, the lessee is much formal in this approach. So, pwedeng client, pwedeng customer, those will be sufficient. Okay? Now, sabi ko sir, dalawang parts di ba? The first part is you're going to write your name. You're going to introduce who you are without saying your name. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. You're going to introduce who you are without saying your name, without saying your name. But the second thing is you shall not forget the purpose of your letter. Why are you writing the letter in the first place? Ano ang dahilan? So to help you guys out, I have rounded up the different statements that you can use for this. Okay, ito yon. So meron kang I am writing to ask you about. I am writing to complain about. I am writing to request. I am writing to invite. I am writing to tell you about. So for example, I am writing to request that you fix the air conditioning equipment of my car, which I rented last week. I am writing to ask you about my invitation for my wedding, whether you will come. I am writing to invite you to my 50th birthday. I am writing to tell you about the situation I am in right now, the reason why I cannot go to your party. So guys, that is how you can start your purpose of the letter. So in letter writing, your introductory paragraph must contain two things. One, who you are. But the catch is you do not say your name. So how can I introduce who I am without saying my name? Your role. You include your role. And then the second part is that you include your purpose of your letter. Okay? So guys, I'm just going to put myself on mute for a minute. Just need to drink something. Hey guys, I'm back. All right, so that is how you do a formal introductory statement. Okay, so now, dun tayo sa informal. Be sure to include the purpose of your letter in the introductory paragraph. So it is important. So where do you put the purpose? On the last part of your introductory paragraph. Sir, what am I going to put in the beginning? Am I going to introduce who I am? No. Again, you do not introduce who you are in informal writing because that sounds silly. Why are you going to introduce to someone who already know who you are? Like you're going to write a letter to your mom and you'll go something like, Dear Lorna, I have been your son for 28 years now, and I am writing this letter to ask for financial assistance. That sounds crazy. That is not informal tone. That is very formal. So instead, instead of introducing who you are, eto guys, you may just, okay, I'm just going to draw something. You can just write down how you are doing, or perhaps you may inquire about how the reader is doing. So ibig sabihin, ano ang ilalagay mo doon? Chika-chika. Ganito. Hi! Exclamation mark. How are you? Question mark. I'm doing great despite my difficult job here in Canada. Period. Anyway, comma, I wrote this letter because I heard that you recently moved in to Canada and I am inviting you to a get-together next month. That is our introductory paragraph. All right. Questions? Questions? Ano mga tinamad na yung mga estudyante ko ah. Okay, wala. So middle paragraph. So in the middle paragraph or paragraphs, this is where you cover all the bullet points, okay? So when you want to cover the bullet points, guys, you have 3 bullet points. Okay, let me break this down to you. You have 3 bullet points. The first bullet point is the explain the situation or discuss the problems, something like that. And then the last bullet point is your action paragraph. So meaning you have your opening statement, you got your introductory paragraph. It contains who you are without saying your name, and then the reason if it's formal, but if it's informal, chika at saka purpose of your letter. And then the third paragraph can be my first and second bullet point. Pwede rin naman yung first bullet point and then second bullet point, pwede ko siyang paghiwalayin. Okay. And then yung last bullet point kasi, that is your action paragraph. Doon natin nilalagay yon. So nakahiwalay po si middle paragraph doon kay action paragraph. So you do not just make a letter that is just one whole. There should be separations. So introductory paragraph, space, then first bullet point, space. Pwede ko rin siyang pagsamahin, pwedeng walang space. Second bullet point, and then third bullet point is the action paragraph, and then bullet point yung tinatawag nating concluding paragraph bago pa lang yung signature, name, title. So that is your middle paragraph. This is where you cover all 3 bullet points. Again, I just want to highlight the importance of this. If you miss to cover any single one of them, you will fail. Most of us here are undergoing a review because we want to get a very high OBS. Some of you might just be looking for a 5 or a 5.5, but you know, if we're going to fail big time in writing, if you're just going to get 4, you know, mahatak niya ang score mo pababa. So I don't want that to happen. If you can possibly get 6.5 or higher, that is what I want you guys to accomplish. After all, we are preparing. You are at 9.09er IELTS Review Center, the best review center in town. So make it count, okay? Sayang naman ang ating pinag-aralan. So please cover the bullet points because if you don't, you will fail. And we don't want failure here, all right? Sir, question is, what if I get a bullet point question telling me to introduce myself? Do I have to reintroduce myself in the middle paragraph? No. The answer is no. You do not reintroduce yourself. You just, because you already done the introduction in the introductory paragraph. Sir, what about the introduce yourself? Okay. Bullet point, introduce yourself. Naka-introduce na po ako sa introduction. So again, there's no need for you to reintroduce yourself in the middle paragraph. But what you can do is that you can add more details to your role. For example, you forgot or you fail to return the books in the library and you're going to write a letter to the librarian, nakalagay doon, introduce yourself. So, of course, you have introduce yourself. You are a student, currently second year, taking nursing course. I borrowed some books last week. And the reason I wrote this letter is because I wasn't able to return the books on time. And I'm going to explain my situation to you. Oh, that's it. Now, you can add more details to you. Pwede kang magdagdag ng library card number. Pwede kang magdagdag ng ano-ano mga books yung hiniram mo. Like Anatomy and Physiology of Mary Seeley. Pwede rin The Medical Surgical Nursing of Barbara Cogier. Pwede rin ilagay yon. Pati yung author, as in, di ba? Kuhang-kuha mo. So, pwede po yan as your middle paragraph. But you do not introduce yourself na, by the way, ako nga pala ito, because you already done that, right? So it appears silly if you're going to do that. So action paragraph, state the action you want the recipient of the letter to undertake, or perhaps your action. Okay? State the action you want the recipient of the letter to undertake, or if appropriate, your action. Ito po yung gusto mong mangyari. Gusto mong gagawin nung nakatanggap ng letter mo, or ito po yung gusto mong action mo para ma-solve yung situation. So, bigyan kita ng example. Halimbawa, sumulat ka ng letter sa isang renting agency kasi may problem dito kay heating system ng house. So anong gagawin mong action paragraph, di ba? I want you to take appropriate action to this matter soon because my 2 children became sick with high-grade fever due to the cold temperature of my room. If this does not properly fixed, then my children could become extremely sick. So I hope that you take this matter seriously. So ipapaayos mo sa kanila. O what about, paano kung ang action paragraph ay ikaw ang may sala, ikaw ang may fault? So for example, do sa ating make-up na situation, your neighbor wrote to you because of the unpleasant noise coming from your house. So let's say ang unpleasant noise is there are some renovations going on in your house, and what you're going to do is nakasaad naman sa homeowners associations na allowed ang heavy equipment, mga drillings, yan, from 8 a.m. hanggang 5 p.m. So you stated that for your neighbor to have more time of peace, you will find alternative methods to minimize the noise, and you will only do the heavy drilling from 9 o'clock in the morning until 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So that is your action, right? So sa madaling sabi, ang action paragraph po ay ang gusto mong gawin nung sinusulatan mo para ma-resolve po yung issue, or kung sa situation na ikaw ang may dapat gawin para ma-resolve yung issue, i-indicate mo yun doon. The most important thing pagdating sa action paragraph is that you invent. Okay? Invent. Next. Concluding paragraph. It is always polite to start by saying thank you for taking time reading your letter. So ang umpisa mo dyan is, thank you for taking this time reading my letter. Say how they can get in touch with you again if necessary, especially kung kailangan ng feedback. Do not apologize. Kung ikaw po ay nagko-complain about a failed service or incompetent service, hindi mo kailangang I apologize for any inconvenience. Ikaw ang nagrereklamo. Hindi ikaw ang magsosorry. Huwag marupok. Ikaw na nagkasala, ikaw pa magsosorry? Ay, sorry. Sila na nagkasala, ikaw pa magsosorry? Diba? Huwag ganon. Okay? Do not apologize if you are making a formal complaint. Apologize. Kailan po tayo, sir, mag-apologize? If doon sa instruction, you are the one at fault in the imaginary scenario of the 3 bullet point task. Like you're causing too much noise in your apartment, or you were not able to return the books. So that is the time that you will apologize. Guys, tingnan nyo ha, gaano kadami ng words ang nailalagay natin. Oh, I am a good day. I am currently a second year student from class 2 or class B. O 12 letters na yun. I am writing this letter to request a change of accommodation. That is already 23. 23 words. All right, that's already 23 words. Next, doon na tayo sa dulo. All right, you're going to put something on the latter part at naka-indicate dito. All right, in the end of your letter, something like, thank you for taking time reading my letter. You may contact me again. Here is my email. I apologize for any inconvenience this caused you, and I look forward for hearing good news from you soon. Ilan yun? Naka 60 words na tayo in total. Wala pa yung middle paragraph. Wala pa yung action paragraph. Okay? Wala pa yung middle, wala pa yung action, introductory paragraph, concluding paragraph pa lang, 60 words. Ngayon, sagutin nyo ako, mahirap ba ang letter writing? Hindi po. You just have to be resourceful. You just have to let your creativity loose. All right? You just have to invent and fabricate stories. Okay. Now, okay, nawala yung aking share. Guys, do you see? Kaya lang ha. Yun. Okay, now we're back. Okay, concluding paragraph, asking for a reply. Sir, ano po ba ang mga pwede namin gamitin para sa concluding paragraph? So guys, if you're asking for a reply, here is something that you can use. I look forward to hearing from you. Please do not hesitate to call me if you need more information. Please feel free to write to me if you need more information. Sir, I'm going to ask them to return the information. Of course, you'll be the one to provide other ways to get in touch with you. So pwedeng ito. You can contact me through my office email. Okay, ito, bigay mo yung office email mo. Let's say, kevin_mangalabnan123@gmail.com. Guys, wag yung masyadong satire na email ha. For example, nakalagay, hotchicks69@hotmail.com. Wag gagawa ng mga satire na emails. Okay, pati numbers. Okay, pwede mong ilagay din yung, what do you call this? Your telephone number. Pwede mong ilagay ang iyong cellphone number. All right? Again, apologize if in the situation you are required to provide an apology, but it is not necessary for everyone. So hindi rin siya necessary sa lahat ng situation. Always look dun sa ating situation kung kailangan mo mag-apologize. Okay? So ito naman po yung mga sample ng statements that you can use for apologizing. So I hope that you can make good use of these resources. Again, guys, you don't have to copy, you don't have to take screenshots because all of these are already provided to you sa ating PDF, which I am going to re-upload later today after po ng ating klase. So feel free po na kayo ay mag-print nun if you want. Okay, next. Closing statement. So if your recipient's name is unknown, let's say ang sinulat mo lang, Dear Sir / Madam, tapos comma, pwede nyo pong gamitin ito. Si yours faithfully at saka si faithfully yours. Yan. Pag binigay nyo naman po ang recipient name, pwede naman si yours sincerely at saka si sincerely yours. Now, sir, paano kung napagpalit ko? Walang problema. Sir, pwede rin po ba yung truly yours? Yes. But guys, this is the most important thing that I would like you to understand ha. Itong si sincerely yours, tingnan nyo po mabuti. Yung spelling po niya, ayan, be careful sa spelling kasi most of the students po na chinecheck ko ang kanilang writing, hindi po nila ma-check yung proper spelling ng sincerely. So, deduction din yan sa grammar score. Tingnan din po, yung comma, never ever forget to put a comma sa atin pong closing statement. Alright. Paano naman po, sir, kapag informal? Ano po yung mga possible statements na pwede natin gamitin? Ayan, si missing you, much love, love and kisses, hugs. Pwede rin naman si love. Guys, kapag ako, ang sinusulatan ko ay family member. Love ang ginagamit ko tapos comma. Kapag naman ang sinusulatan ko ay friends, best wishes naman ang ginagamit ko. So that is how you do your closing statement. Next. Okay. So let us take a look at this. Tingnan nga po natin kung paano natin ito gagawin. All right. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. You live in a room in college which you share with another student. So here is your situation, okay? However, there are many problems with this arrangement and you find it very difficult to work. Write a letter to the accommodation officer at the college. So your task here is you're going to write a letter to the accommodation officer because you want to change your current accommodation status. So there are two possibilities here. The first possibility is that you want to transfer to another room, which you're going to share with another student, or perhaps you would request for a single room all by yourself. So you are going to write a type of letter. Anong type ito? Letter of request. Okay? So describe the situation. Explain your problems and why it is difficult to work. And then say what kind of accommodation that you would prefer. Take a look at some of our special instructions. Write at least 150 words. You do not need to write any addresses. Wala kang ilalagay sa top of your letter. Hindi natin kailangan yan. Sisimulan mo siya agad sa instructed line, Dear Sir or Madam. Pwede rin ba sir yung Dear Sir / Miss? Yes, dahil yung dalawa na yan ang allowed sa atin pong instruction. So we've already broken down your task description into parts. Now let us see it in action. Okay, tingnan nga po natin. Dear Sir or Madam, take a look. I currently reside, this is the part that I'm talking about. Ito po yung sinasabi ko na part. I currently reside in the college halls of residence. This is introducing who I am without saying my name. And ito naman po yung part kung saan sinabi ko, yung purpose ng letter. I am writing to request a change of accommodation. So kompleto po ba ang aking parts sa introductory paragraph? Yes. Tingnan po natin. Ang sabi doon sa bullet point is explain or describe your situation. So in this part, I'm going to describe my situation at the same time dahil si describe your situation at saka explain your problem, why is it difficult to work with the student that you currently reside with is on the same category, pagsasamahin ko siya sa isang paragraph. Take a look at this. At the moment, I share the room with Mia Khalifa. Although she and I really get on well as people, we have very different studying habits. She works best at night and often studies until 3 or 4 a.m. Of course, she has the lights on and eats, both of which disturb my sleep. I, on the other hand, prefer to wake up on the break of dawn and study before going to college. After 2 weeks of this arrangement, I find that I'm constantly tired as a result of not being able to sleep well, and this in turn is adversely affecting my studies. Etong part na to, ito yung explain why is it difficult to work. Tapos ito naman yung describe your situation. Yan. Ito naman yung part na kung saan dinescribe po yung situation. Once again, nakapost na po ang letter na to sa atin pong Facebook group. So there is no need for you to take a screenshot or to copy it word for word because I am going to re-upload it today. Okay, let me just clear my drawings before we proceed to the next slide. Okay, I feel, yes, Christine, your question is, may tanong? Sige.
Sir, yung dun sa din sa letter, di ba? Hindi
Yes.
hindi ba dapat may space po ba doon? I mean, parang indent, di ba yung tawag
Okay,
doon? Yung
indentations. Oh, actually, if
Ah,
you're going to see my samples here, wala siyang indentations, di ba?
yes
At
po.
ano ang ginagamit ko para doon sa pagitan nila? Space lang. So no indentations, use a space after every paragraph. So hindi na po tayo nag-i-indent. Maging sa task 2, we don't do indentations anymore. So leave a space after every paragraph para makita pa rin natin yung distinctions, yung divisions nila. Kung sino ba doon si introductory paragraph, nasa na ba si action paragraph, alin ba dyan yung middle paragraph, ano ba dyan yung concluding. So yun pa rin yung layer niya, na-distinguish pa rin natin siya through spaces. Ganun din sa task 2. Nasaan yung introduction, nasaan yung body paragraph 1, 2, 3, nasaan yung conclusion. Spaces, no indentations. And use the block format. Mas okay gumamit kasi ng ganitong format ng writing. Huwag kayo mag-all caps kasi capitalization is part of your grammar. Handwriting, pakiayos, especially kung magpe-pen and paper-based exam ka. Well, you see, kapag ikaw naman ay computer delivered, hindi naman factor yon. But in computer delivered IELTS, kailangan mabilis kang mag-type.
Kasi parang iba lang yung nakasanayang sulat sa letter.
Yes. Tapos yung mga answer sheet naman, Christine, nakapost yun sa ating Facebook group. So all you need to do is to type the keyword answer sheet. Pwede mong i-print yung listening, reading answer sheet at saka writing task 1 and 2. Maganda na mag-practice ka sa official answer sheet para kapag nakapag-exam ka na, hindi ka na masyadong maninibago. Sanay ka na doon sa mismong official answer sheet. At gagawin mo yung tama, wala nang indentation, nakasagad siya sa left na line, and then leave a space after every paragraph. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Download
That
ko
be
na
all,
po.
Christine.
Yes, thank you po.
All right. So next is, I feel that I would only be able to study well if I have a single room and do not have to share. Ito na nga po yung ating action paragraph. Given these extenuating circumstances, I would be grateful if you could arrange this for me. Diba? Nagre-request ako na grateful ako kung magagawa niyo to para sa akin. Yan. Tapos ito na nga yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na parts na pwede niyong gawin, isulat. Yung thank you for taking time reading my letter. I apologize for any inconvenience that this will cause you, and I look forward to hearing from you soon with some good news. Should you need to get in touch, I will be more than glad to receive a call from you. You can reach me at 0927-886-7745. And then yours faithfully, signature, pwede ka guys magsulat talaga dyan ng mismong signature. Yan. Lexilor, tapos ito yung kanyang title, student. Yan. Question po? Alright. So yan po yung sample natin ng formal letter. Magbibigay din po tayo ng sample para sa informal letter. Yan. So i-break down po muna natin ang ating task description. So we got your, you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. You migrated to another country. Write a letter to your friend who also happens to live in that country. So ano daw ang ating type of letter, this is informal because obviously ang susulatan mo ay ang kaibigan mo. Alright. Sabi dyan, sa mga bullet points natin, tell him or her why you chose this country, describe your new place of residence, and propose a meeting with your friend. So dito guys natin nalaman kung anong uri po ng letter ang ating isusulat. Propose a meeting with your friend. This is a type of letter that we call a letter of invitation. I-invite mo yung friend mo na makipagkita siya sa iyo. So siyempre gagawa ka ng dahilan, di ba? Parang ngayon lang tayo magkikita, nabalitaan ko dito ka rin pala sa Canada nag-work. Why don't we see each other? Yan. So, let's see the breakdown of the sample. Okay, tingnan natin. Delete ko lang yung aking mga annotations. All right. So, dear Brian, I just arrived here in Shanghai 3 days ago. O, di ba sir, mas mahaba ito kasi ang sabi dyan, chika-chikahin natin. Tama po ba? All right, ito guys, I just arrived here in Shanghai 3 days ago, and I have to say I did not expect it to be so cold here. This makes me miss the tropical heat in the Philippines so much. It is a good thing that I always have a piece of the Philippines here since I have friends like you living here as well. I wrote this letter to invite you a simple get-together a week or 2 from now. So ito yung inquiry of how your reader is doing. This is also the indication of what you are doing. And in the latter portion of your letter, you indicated the purpose. I wrote this letter to invite you to a simple get-together a week or 2 from now. Tapos eto na, magkukwento ka na. If I'm not mistaken, you told me that you live in the downtown area of the city, although I think you were slightly exaggerating when you talked about how noisy it is there. I considered the slight probability that you might be telling the truth. I followed your advice and decided to rent a flat in the outskirts of the city. The place is a bit shabby, but it has its charms. The neighbors are friendly, and my house is close to the roads, to the shops, and to my work. Honestly, the only flaw I can think of is that the place gets eerily quiet at times. Yeah. I miss the ruckus we used to make together in our office back in Moraita to somehow make my new pad more reminiscent of what once was. I'm commanding you as a friend to drop by here soon. I will cook your favorite rice dish in insane quantities if you promise to visit me. Thank you in advance for saying yes, my very good friend, Love, Richard. Yan. Mukhang may something kay Brian tsaka kay Richard, ano guys? Pansin nyo ba? Okay. Sana maging masaya sila pag nagkita na sila. Alright. So, do you wish to fail? Of course not. So, ito po yung mga bagay na hindi natin gagawin. Tatanggalin nyo lang lahat ng don't. Yan, remove natin lahat ng don't. Okay, magdodraw lang ako dito. Para tayo po ay pumasa. Write in the letter form. Start with the instructed line. Affix your signature. Clearly explain your purpose. Clearly address all the 3 bullet points, maintain the appropriate tone throughout, sign off properly, and use the block format. Dapat ba tayo mag-write ng letter in all caps? Hindi. Write the letter in proper capitalization. Observe proper capitalization rules. Okay. So guys, etong mga activities na to, popost ko to sa ating group, sabay-sabay sila. Hana? So bago po tayo dumako sa end ng ating discussion, ayan, ipo-forward ko lang silang lahat. Nasa group na po yan lahat. Okay, gusto ko lang po sanang itanong kung meron po silang mga questions. Okay, isa-isa tayo ha. Mula sa baba. Si Nin Shield, Benaventura. Meron ka bang tanong, Nin Shield?
Hello po.
Ano daw?
Hello, sir.
Hello, Nin Shield. May question ka ba?
Sir, yung bullet points po ba, obligado ba siya na yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng bullet points, ganun mo din siya isusulat?
That is a very nice question, Nin Shield. Actually, there are a variety of ways na pwede mong isulat yung letter. But by following the order and sequence of how the bullet points are arranged, that is precisely how the letter must be written And it is much appreciated by examiners kung susundin natin yun. Kasi parang it sounds, it doesn't look appealing kung mauuna yung action paragraph bago doon sa description ng problem at saka nung explaining the situation, di ba? So that's the reason why they are arranged that way. Mas okay na sundin mo siya. Although may mga maabilidad na mga tao na pwede nilang baliktarin yon, kakayanin pa rin siya. Pero I really highly recommend to follow how the bullet points are arranged because naka-arrange na siya in such a way na mas ma-appreciate siya ng examiner when it comes to the appearance. So yun lang naman, Ninshil. Ninshil, by the way, yan ba ang pangalan mo, Ninshil?
Opo, Ninshel po.
Ninshel.
Silent I.
Ninshel. Okay. Sino nagpangalan sa'yo, Ninshel?
Ninyo, sir, tsaka Sheila.
Okay. Ikaw ba yung tinawagan ko before?
Yes, sir. Yung Nins po. Yung sa
Ah,
Facebook.
ikaw pala. Okay, sige. Yun lang ang question mo, Nins?
Yes po.
Okay, sige. Maraming salamat.
Thank
What
you.
about, sino pa dito? Si Mildred Domingo. Meron ka bang katanungan, Ma'am Mildred?
Wala naman po, sir.
Ma'am Mildred, keep your lines open yung messenger mo ha. May chat ako sa'yo mamaya.
Opo, okay po.
Okay.
Sir.
What about you, Mary Rose Padilla?
Sir, wala po. Naintindihan naman ako.
Ay, maraming salamat, Mary Rose. Yan. Talagang gagaling ng mga estudyante ko ngayon. Match na to talaga. Grabe. Alright, what about you, Dayanara Taduran? Meron ka bang tanong?
Wala naman, sir.
Wala naman. Keep your lines open as well, Dayan, kasi may chat ako sa'yo later.
Okay po.
What about you, Jocelyn?
Wala naman po, sir. All clear naman po so far.
Nice, that's nice. Carla? May tanong ka ba, Carla?
Sir,
Si Carla. Yes, Carla?
sa pag-count po ng words, kasama po bang ika-count dun yung Dear Sir, Madam, saka po yung
Kasama.
title?
Kasama yon. Pero kahit
Yung-
kasama siya, ang gusto ko pa rin, nasa 170 pa rin ang words niya.
Okay po, thank you.
Kaya naman pahabain, di ba? Lalo pagka formal letter, marami kang kailangan i-involve eh. Kung halimbawa man, ang topic mo is magreklamo ka, di ba? Laptop daw,
Opo.
binili mo. You bought a laptop and you found some defects on it. So, mag-iimbento ka, ano ba yung mga defecto ng laptop? Let's say, ayaw gumana ng charger. When you first charge it, when it arrived, it took you full 24 hours to charge the device. And after the full 24 hours, it only showed 23%. So according to the user manual, it would only take 1 hour for it to be fully charged, and you were wondering why your laptop is not charging properly. Ganon. Ang haba na agad nun. Ilang words yun? Nasa 50 na yun. So dun pa lang, di ba? Buong-buo na tayo. So yun lang naman. Kayang-kayang pahabain yan. So Angeline Heronimo, may tanong ka? Angeline. Walang tanong si Angeline. Alma, meron ka bang question, Alma?
Wala po, sir.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Alma. Alright, so guys, mukhang tapos na tayo. Si Emil. Emil, may tanong ka ba? Naligaw na akad, si Emil. Ganyan kaming kasaya dito sa GT. Sobrang dali lang ng aming lecture. Bukas kasi ang academic, ang lecture natin. So mga GT, hindi kayo a-attend bukas kasi pang-akad yon. Okay? Alright guys, so I don't think we should extend this any longer. That will be the end of our lecture. Yung pong sa coaching session natin para sa letter writing, don't worry, darating din po tayo dyan. Ipapaliwanag ko po kung paano mag-work ang ating coaching session. Ngayong hindi pa po tayo pwedeng bumalik sa face-to-face. Okay? So, that would be all for today. Kung may mga questions kayo, pwede kayong mag-message sa akin directly. Nakasave po itong recording na atin for sa ating pong cloud. So ipopost ko din ito sa ating Facebook group para mapanood nyo yung replay sa mga hindi nakatapos. Yun lang po. Have a nice day. God bless and good luck po sa ating lahat. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you po.